characteristics. Therefore, you cannot patent evolution. Something else has been my long-standing argument with the federal government of Canada.
So what's happening up there? Actually, you guys are, I'm a McGill graduate. I'm Canadian, so I'm very happy to speak with my fellow Canadians at all times. But what's happening in I know Trudeau made it up there. Fill me in. I've been busy in my world down here, but I know,
Trudeau's chief financial officer made $1 million off the first ever licensed producer in Canada, and then pushed very hard for legalization, of course, through their entire campaign, ushering in Justin to get legalized now. And at the same time, patients like myself filed a case named Allard, and that case is now before the federal bench, in which a federal injunction was also put in place, stopping the removal of 36,000 patient gardens in Canada and allowing them to continue to grow for themselves until such time as constitutional scrutiny of the MMPR could be enacted. And as well as in that time, we've had another Supreme Court of Canada, first ever case to reach the Supreme Court of Canada, called R.V. Smith, in which the Supreme Court of Canada said that us medical patients can use cannabis in all of its forms. And as you know, coming from the Supreme Court of Canada, that is extremely powerful language.
Yes. So when do the laws? Okay. So what laws have they put in, and when does that kick in? How does that affect the Tilrays and the other guys up there?
Well, to be honest, this is what's funny, and I'm glad you're asking. These are good questions, because what they're doing is dodging it. They're dodging. Justin won't announce his legalization platform until they answer Allard. Allard is the answer. Allard will decide whether there's gardens in this country or not, because Justin's not going to give us gardens. Only Allard. If that decision comes down and they say that patients can have gardens, then they're going to have to allow X number of plants. You know, and that's a really big part of.
Gardens right now. Will people be allowed to keep this plant in the hands of the people, or is it going to go to commercial?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Right now, if you look at Justin's model, it's tax, regulate, and heavily restrict access. Heavily restrict access. It says nothing about production, and that's because Allard hasn't spoken. Now, when the Justice Phelan speaks in Allard, if he says patients can grow, then they're going to rethink their strategy and rewrite what it is under their legalization platform, which will likely be 4 or 6 plants per adult, similar to what we see in Colorado, where there's extremely large amounts being made in taxes, and there's no problems with crime.
Interesting. So it does come down to this. So what do you think it's going to go? Growers or no growers for the average person?
Well, I filed the case in 2012. I also sued the government in 2013 for breaching our privacy when they told us to destroy our cannabis and kitty litter for $40 million plus. And both those cases are about to be settled. And honestly, I'm looking forward to a country where we can have a free plant, X number of plants, and whatever that is to be at the start, it's a start. But at least we'll have a constitutional right rather than a regulatory option issued by some politician that can strike it out at any given time. Any decision under the Constitution is final and permanent. That's what matters here in Canada.
Well, it's interesting. You know, the premise of the technology originally was to the consumer, and we wanted to allow the average consumer to be able to test the safety and potency of everything they eat, drink, or inhale, including what they grow. So basically, I hope it falls on that track as well, and we'll be pushing here in California for the same initiatives here coming up. So it will be interesting to see.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any problem. I think it's just a matter of time, and common sense is going to ride. The people, we've seen it in Washington State. They legalized there. People ran out and they bought a bunch of grow stuff. Then they realized they couldn't grow, and they were all upset, and they folded it up, and then they started to rebel against the legalization model that was issued there. That's what people have to understand. Legalization doesn't mean nothing without a model. And right now, Justin's legalization model does not include any personal production in the country of Canada. And unless Justice Phelan and Allard says we're allowed to for us medical patients, I'm thinking that that's going to be the defining issue of whether plants are or are not going to be allowed in this country, barring further legislation or further legal action in the future.